JD Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
Look. Oh my God. I'm sorry, but who'd have guessed we'd see 2 assassination attempts in the same election cycle? I don't think we've ever seen a guy be so nice and likable while still filleting someone in real time. Tim Walz is like a Midwestern John Wick. That was the new vice presidential pick, Tim Walz, straight up humiliating JD Vance over the internet rumors that he'd had a, let's call it, sectional relationship with his couch. And in fairness, the rumors weren't true, but I gotta say, when you are so weird that the internet believes it anyway, that really is saying something, huh? This was part of a rally that was, in my honest opinion, the single best rally I've ever seen. From Josh Shapiro opening up for the duo, to Kamala introducing Tim Walz to the nation, to Walz himself showing America exactly why he was chosen as VP, it was perfection from top to bottom. And it showed that there are now 2 people on the Democratic ticket who can effectively prosecute the case for a second term for Democrats against Donald Trump. Like another killer moment right here.
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Not only does he highlight Trump's criminality, which has rightfully been a cornerstone of Harris's stump speech, but it also pushes back on this revisionist history that Trump employs while pretending that he presided over some period of mass prosperity. Remember, Trump left office with a net loss of 3 million jobs, an unemployment rate at 6.3%, an economic contraction of 3.4%, and the highest crime surge in decades. And of course, when Biden and Kamala took over, they did what every Democratic administration does when they take over for a Republican administration. They cleaned up their mess, adding 16 million jobs, the lowest unemployment rate in half a century, a record high stock market, the strongest economy in the world, and cutting the crime rate down by 25%. You could fly a 777 in the space between what Republicans say and what they actually do. Walz also weighed in on the most potent issue of our time, the issue of reproductive rights and IVF.
Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope.
Now, two things happened here. First, Democrats began the much-needed process of reclaiming the concept of freedom that had been co-opted by the right for so long. But let's be clear, you are not some champion for freedom if you're stripping rights away. And second, Tim Walz positioned himself in stark contrast to JD Vance, who not only has advocated for an outright end to abortion, meaning he's not even looking to send it back to the states, he just wants it gone, but he himself voted against the IVF bill in the Senate. All the while, Walz himself owes his very family to IVF. The difference here in terms of who will champion reproductive rights and family values versus who is seeking to strip them away out of some blind deference to far-right Christian national ideology could not be more obvious. But here's the most important moment of the entire night, in my opinion, and it came from Kamala Harris herself.
To those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz. To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz. And to his former high school football players, he was Coach. And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
And here's why this is so important. According to polling, about 71% of the country does not know who Tim Walz is, meaning there's a vacuum that's been created right now, wherein he'll either be defined by the left or by the right. Kamala used this opportunity to do the polar opposite of what Trump did at the RNC after JD Vance was announced, where he only briefly mentioned Vance before spending 90 minutes filleting himself just to hear the sound of his own voice. Harris told the whole country exactly who he is, gave an entire rundown of who he's been to so many different people in his life, and wasted zero time in ensuring that Americans saw in Tim Walz a patriot, a coach, a teacher, a family man, and so much more. She filled that vacuum immediately and ensured that he'd have the best possible debut to his national audience. And so while Trump allowed Vance to flail because he couldn't even stomach the prospect of not talking about himself for even 5 minutes, here Kamala generously made the Philadelphia rally about her running mate, recognizing that a rising tide lifts all ships. If he does well, she does well. And she made sure that he did well. Contrast that with what happened when Trump was asked if he would have confidence in JD Vance if he had to take over.
When you look at JD Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him, and for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented, historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact.
Dude couldn't even pretend to care about the guy. He couldn't even stomach humoring the idea that anyone other than him, other than Donald J. Trump, God's gift to the world, could ever be in power. But the message that the rest of the country got was that he's not ready. And guess what? That doesn't just hurt Vance, it hurts Trump. They are inextricably linked. And Trump just decided to knife the guy who he's attached to, which is probably why Vance is now the least popular VP candidate in decades. He is running alongside someone who is such an egregious narcissist, a megalomaniac, that he would rather abandon his own running mate than cede even a moment, a minute of spotlight. Donald Trump's narcissism is his fatal flaw, and honestly, JD Vance is smart enough to know better, even if he's too power-hungry to care. So Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will continue to ride the wave of energy and enthusiasm. They've already raised over $40 million on Tuesday alone, and that's for good reason. It's because people can discern honesty, they can discern integrity, they can discern authenticity. That is why the energy is only with one campaign in this race, and it's not the one that belongs to Donald Trump. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.